This is Jeremy Shiflett with an update from the Northwest District. Both Rough and Nolan River Lakes are at summer pool and stable prior to rain this week on Wednesday and Thursday. Bass fishing has been fair at both reservoirs, with lots of fish under 15 inches being caught using various methods. There's been a few fish over 15, but they've been a little harder to come by. And there has been some good topwater action early and late. At Rough, crappie fishing continues to be good, but not quite as hot as it has been for the last few weeks. Fish seem to be back on structure, 8 to 15 feet deep, with some larger fish suspending in open water. Jigs or minnows have been a toss-up depending on the day. Hybrid striped bass fishing has been very good. Some fish have been caught in the jumps, others using live shad or swim baits near the creek mouths and the lower end of the lake. There are also going to be some fish still upstream, up around Evilly and above, that are moving back down into the lake. Hybrids are also being caught at night if you can find some shad up on the shallow flats. At Nolan, the crappie bite has slowed down as well. Most fish have moved to offshore timber and structure 7 to 15 feet deep. If they're not hitting your go-to bait, try changing it up. These fish are a little less predictable in the period immediately after the spawn. Anglers are catching some big white bass in the jumps and at night under lights or by casting main lake points. Small swim baits, crankbaits, spoons, inline spinners, and curly-tail grubs will all catch some of these feisty white bass. Bluegill and red ear are bedding in the state lakes. Look for quiet pockets with overhead cover and cast a small jig or a small number 8 or number 10 hook with a piece of waxworm, redworm, nightcrawler, etc. under a float. The bass are still biting fairly well. They seem to be near shore but holding a little bit deeper than usual, somewhere in the 4 to 8 to 10 foot range. Trout were stocked again in Otter Creek this month, both on the ORA and on Fort Knox. Catfish were stocked last week in Owensboro and Litchfield Fens Lakes. You can also catch sunfish along the banks in the Fens Lakes right now. The fish are not always out in the middle, so look carefully when you approach the lake, and you just may find some easy targets close by. Good luck and stay safe.
This is Adam Martin with your Western District Fishing Report. Water temps are still around 76 degrees at Kentucky and Barkley Lakes, with water levels at summer pool. Watercolor is fairly clear for the moment, but some rains this week may change that. Bass anglers have found things a bit more difficult lately as the fish are mostly in their post-spawn transition phase. I'm expecting the schools of bass fry to break up this week, but the shad spawn is in full swing right now, so getting out early in the mornings or late in the evenings is probably your best bet for fishing that pattern. Once again, it's worth scanning those early ledges to see if you can find a school of post-spawners. June is typically the best month for ledge fishing, and I'm pretty optimistic about a good ledge bite this year. Now, the crappie spawn is also still occurring, although my sense of it is that the peak was over a couple of weeks ago. In most years, the spawn lasts about 30 days on Kentucky Lake, but can last longer. There are plenty of crappie to be had this spring, but anglers are also reporting an abundance of 9.5 inch, or the even more frustrating and perhaps even more tempting 9 15/16 inch fish. So for the most part, anglers are fishing shallow, but long lining crankbaits and live scoping in deeper water cover are also popular choices. The bluegill, red ear, and long ear sunfish spawns are still going on, and I've seen some monstrous red ear being caught this spring. Now, bluegill tend to be less picky and will use a soft mud bottom for their nests, but long ear and red ear will almost always be found on a hard gravel bottom. That harder bottom makes the beds more difficult to spot with sonar because there may not be an actual depression formed. But generally speaking, if you catch one red ear or one long ear, you can be sure that there are more beds and more fish around. Now, this is nearing the end of the red ear spawn, so for most anglers, this is your last chance to catch a mess before the fall. The catfishing has been excellent on the lakes. The channel catfish are shallow right now and can be taken using rod and reel or on jugs. The best strategy, in my opinion, is to bring multiple bait types and then adjust depending on what is working best. Shrimp, night crawlers, stink bait, or cut bait will all work, but there's usually one which is working the best on any given day. Tailwater fishing below the dams has been decent as well, although once again the bank fishing has been a little tougher than the boat fishing due to the lack of strong current. Now, this weekend is the last weekend of the year for daytime snagging below Kentucky Dam. After May 31st, snagging is only allowed at nighttime from sunset to sunrise. And speaking of this weekend, please stay safe out there. If you're on the water, please remember to always wear your life jackets and kill switches. Good luck.